that it got mighty close in the end, with Minute and Sneeman getting to within 2 minutes at the end, with the Monsters climbing all the way up into the final podium spot. Class A features a host of powerful open-wheeled monsters, purpose-built for cross-country racing. Tim Howes has been a stalwart of the class and is also the defending champion. As befits a champion, he took victory at the opening round of the season and now heads up the title chase. Loet de Pre was in second after round one, with Eugene Bierman in third. We had a quick chat with Haas before he set off for his qualifying race in Eston.
We race our own race and we do what we can, and if that's good enough to win, fantastic.
This time round, 6 Class A cars took the starters' orders at the Sugarbelt 400, with Trace Pricemore and co-driver Gareth Aston, as well as Keith and Andrew Makanete, adding their names to the list. But it was a tough qualifier for the Makanetes, who failed to complete the shortened route. In the end, Bierman and co-driver Peter Visser went 5th fastest, 1 minute and 20 seconds behind John Thompson and co-driver Maurice de Matten in their Zarco Challenger. They were beaten for the first of the podium spots by Trace Pricemore and Gareth Aston in their stunning Bat Venom, while Loet de Pre and Nick van Zyl took second place in their Farmers Meet Striker. But the man on pole position was none other than defending champ Tim Howes, with Gary Campbell reading his notes.
I lost the clutch, so every time we had to stop, we stalled, but got it going and managed to get to the end and had great fun.
And here are the numbers. The qualifying race saw Howes take pole yet again, followed by Dupree and Pricemore. Next up, the main event. The Sugarbelt saw a few stalwarts of the sport return to action, but unfortunately for the likes of Keith and Andrew Makanete, it wasn't a fairy tale return, as they were forced to the sidelines, as was the Farmers Meet striker of Loet de Pre and Nick van Zyl, who also failed to reach the finish. Someone who did reach the finish, in spite of picking up a 40-minute penalty along the way, is another veteran combination of the sport, John Thompson and Maurice de Matten, who returned after taking some time off. The crew were rewarded with a fine 4th place, because the final podium spot in class belonged to Eugene Bierman and Peter Visser, who raced hard to complete their first Sugarbelt as a pairing. Their time was 6 hours and 20 minutes. That also included a fair share of drama along the way, but not as much drama that characterized the fight for overall Class A and Special Vehicle honours. This fight was between fellow Italians Tim Howes and Gary Campbell and Trace Pricemore and new navvy Gareth Aston. The latter started the main race on Saturday in second place behind the pace setters and Special Vehicle Championship leaders Howes and Campbell. The tight corners, challenging navigation and testing routes typical of the event, as well as a 40-minute penalty, did not stand in the way of the team taking their first category and Class A victory, with a total time of 6 hours and 9 minutes. The defending champions Howes and Campbell suffered various mechanical issues, including racing without a clutch and with a broken rear shock absorber, but still finished in style as the category and Class A runners-up, 2 minutes and 11 seconds behind the winners. There it is, the scoreboard confirming the 2 minutes and 11 seconds between first and second after a drama-filled race in the top class of the Special Vehicle category, with Bierman rounding out the top 3. And it must have been bittersweet to celebrate victory from the top step of the podium for Pricemore.
No, fantastic. A great race, quite tough. Tight corners and all that, but what Sugarbelt gives to us, it was awesome.
And a quick congratulations is also in order to Grant Watkins and navigator Mark Irvine, who were behind the wheel of the only Class P special vehicle in the race. But to finish first, you must first finish. And they did. And with that, we move on to the big boys at the head of the field. This is Class T1 Plus, where Dakar-capable race cars, including the fearsome GR DKR Hilux T1 Plus that won the Dakar Rally in 2022 and 2023, do battle. The field has grown significantly in recent times, but looking at the championship standings, it is clear that the fight between Toyota and Ford is alive and well. Henk Laatskant topped the charts, followed by Gareth Woolridge and defending champion Janelle de Villiers, which meant that Laatskant, winner in round 1, was the man with a target on his back.
And now we're in Essen. I really enjoy these roads. I like the tight and twisty things, even though I think these cars aren't exactly designed for that. They like the open deserts a bit more.
That KZN is the domain of Neil Woolridge Motorsport, who runs the NWM Ford Castrol team. Their HQ is situated in Pietermaritzburg, just 30 minutes from the race location. And if anyone was going to give the boys in red a bloody nose in Eston, it was likely to be the lads from just down the road. We visited Neil and his sons Lance and Gareth at their HQ before the race.
Our domestic championship in South Africa, as I mentioned, is probably one of the best in the world. It's a very, very good training and learning ground, not only from a driving perspective, but from a development of the car perspective.
As for Lance and Gareth, they both knew what to do in Eston, and they both reckon that racing in their backyard didn't offer them any significant advantages.
But yeah, it's going to be a very exciting race. It's a very technical race.
Hopefully all things go well and we can bring back the top step.
Down in Eston, it was time for the men to be separated from the boys. 10 Class T1 Plus machines rolled up for the start of the Pirelli qualifier. And at 12:30 on Friday, the 12th of May, it was go time in Eston. With the Class T1 Plus cars leading the field, most of them completed the full qualifying distance, only to have their times truncated at the 21.2 kilometer mark due to the fire that blocked the route for some of the competitors. But when the smoke had cleared, the dust had settled, and the times calculated, it was Brian Baragwanath and Leonard Kramer who went 5th fastest. The Century Racing pairing finished just 18 seconds behind the pole sitters. 4th fastest, Henk Lazagan and Brett Cummings, who had to open the road for the qualifier. The TGRSA crew struggled to find their way in places, but lost only 12 seconds despite their challenges. This brings us to the sharp end of the field, where Lance Woolridge and Kenny Gilbert clocked the 3rd fastest time in qualifying. Just a single second faster than their TGRSA rivals. But the NWM Ford Castrol team had to be content with the wily old fox Janelle de Villiers and co-driver Dennis Murphy, recording a time 7 seconds quicker to take 2nd place. Pole position? That went to none other than NWM Ford Castrol's Gareth Woolridge and Boyd Dreyer. The local lads flexing their muscles and clearly throwing down the gauntlet to their Toyota counterparts. Their winning margin was 4 seconds, with a tough main event clearly on the cards.
I said to Boyd before the race, I felt super relaxed and I felt really confident. Him and I are feeling good together. The car is feeling the best it's ever felt, and I think it'll show today, so yeah, very chuffed.
Here are the details again. It was Woolridge and Dreyer who took pole position ahead of de Villiers and Murphy, and Woolridge and Gilbert. This made for an interesting starting grid with a main race that certainly didn't disappoint. In the end, the main race can be summed up by just one word, but one has to say it repeatedly to do it justice. The word? Drama. Drama and more drama. The route was tough, tricky and challenging with no room for error, while dust was also a huge factor. The names of Gary Bertholt and Ernest Roberts did not appear on the results boards, as both these drivers failed to reach the finish. Century Racing's Brian Baragwanath and Leonard Kramer very nearly also joined that list of non-finishers when they were stuck in the ditch. But they eventually got out to cross the finish line, and so did Simon Murray and Achim Bachmann in their WCT HT2 Toyota, who recorded a 9th place finish in the Premier class after rolling their car the day before. Unfortunately for local hero Lance Woolridge and navigator Kenny Gilbert, the fight for overall victory never materialized. The pre-event favourites suffered a few setbacks and then sportingly also stopped to help recover the Class T1 crew of Evan Besson and Leander Pinar out of a ditch, dropping them down to 8th in class. 7th was another Lance, but this one was behind the wheel of the 2-wheel drive King Price Extreme Century Racing CR6. The big dog and partner Adrian Ritz also overcame their fair share of technical issues, so the crew was happy to see the end. Crispus is a former champion, and together with Albertus Venter, the Redline Revo crew would not have been so happy with their eventual 6th place finish in the Premier Class T1 Plus. Visser had his work cut out after starting in the middle of the field, but they overcame some mechanical issues only to lose more time with the puncture. And what a welcome return to top-level racing for the Horn brothers, Johan and Vanna, who missed their home race in Malalaan earlier due to the tragic passing of their father. The Horns were back with a vengeance in their Team Hilux Rally Raid Hilux and chased hard to fight for a podium position. But these are hard to come by, and in the end, they had to settle for 5th overall, just 44 seconds behind the 4th place finishers. It was an eventful run for Guy Bottrell and Simon Vasey-Lyle, to say the least. Although hailing from KZN, it was the pairing's first ever outing at the Sugarbelt. Add to that the fact they had to open the road for the first part of the Saturday. And it was clear that the Toyota Gazoo Racing SA squad did a good job to bring the Hilux home in one piece, albeit just one position shy from the podium. And then there were three. The two Toyota Gazoo Racing SA crews of Henk Larsgan and Brett Cummings, and Janelle de Villiers and Dennis Murphy, and the NWM Ford Castrol team of local lads Gareth Woolridge and Boyd Dreyer. Quite literally, the Ford in the Toyota sandwich. Although on this occasion the Ford started on top after winning the qualifying race the day before. But what a crazy race it would turn into for all three of these crews, who each experienced a fair share of drama. Woolridge initially managed to maintain a slight advantage at the top of the field, but then suffered a puncture just 40 kilometers from the end. This led to issues with their brakes and robbed them of more valuable seconds. And that's all that Janelle de Villiers needed. Having said that, the former multiple champion and past winner of this race made it difficult for himself by also picking up a flat tire or two, and wrong slotting on a number of occasions. But in the end, the veteran snuck into second place by a margin of just 19 seconds over the Ford of Woolridge. After that was settled, it didn't take much to figure out that Toyota Gazoo Racing SA's Henk Larsgan and Brett Cummings were on their way to claim their second victory of the season in as many events. And it was everything but easy. The timesheet will show a winning margin of more than 3 minutes, but their run included a few punches of their own, as well as time lost when they landed up in a ditch. So this is what the record books will say after the completion of the 2023 Sugarbelt 400. The times do not tell the full story, but the names of Larsgan and Cummings topped the sheets with a 3-minute and 16-second victory over teammates de Villiers and Murphy, Woolridge and Dreyer just a further 19 seconds back.
I was actually surprised at the end that we managed to pull a gap again, so really happy with the result.
Time for the podium finishers to enjoy the winner's bubbly from the Sugarbelt podium, and the second win in a row for Larsgan, who now also leads the 2023 title fight. Next up, the big one. The flagship marathon event is returning to our neighbouring country, Botswana, for the first time since the start of COVID, for the legendary Toyota Gazoo Racing Kalahari Botswana 1000 Desert Race. See you in the Kalahari from the 23rd to the 25th of June.